who's like, yeah, I like the idea of it, not quite sure how to apply it. Okay, how many of you are coming from what you would sort of consider a more traditional business? You're not looking to change the world, you know, you help people, you build things, you do things. Is that generally where you're all from? I know it's LA, I'm a native Californian, so I know that we're largely industry driven, a lot of people in media. How many of you are in kind of what you would consider, I do kind of boring stuff. I don't sort of cure cancer, change the world. Most of you, or all of you in entertainment, we should get out of here. So I think what Jonathan nailed is he nailed a lot of key things. So I work with enterprises. So I work in what some would consider kind of a boring beat with regular customers, Microsoft customers who are looking to figure out how do they apply AI to their world. And a few of the things that Jonathan said really sort of drove home some key messages. You know, most customers are not looking to change the world. They're looking to get started somewhere. What I'm seeing on this beat, and I'm just stalling for time while John's getting set up here, is what we're seeing on this beat is a lot of enterprise customers that are really looking to create new experiences. And as a byproduct of this, they're going to create some new revenue streams. So one of the customers that I work with is a large hospitality and travel company. And what they're looking to do is they're looking to create new experiences for their non-platinum members. Because if you think about it, you know, if you travel for business, you know that you may or may not have hotel status in any given year. Most of us are not in hotel status anymore after COVID. So they're trying to figure out, how do I help this tier just below platinum? How do I give a new experience to them to improve brand affinity? To make sure that maybe they feel next time they book a hotel, we're going to be the ones that they come and reach out to. Now the same hotel chain also has kind of an Airbnb type offering. And what they're looking to do is drive more awareness of this hotel B&B program that they have that most people are not aware of. So one of the things that we've been talking to them about is creating this whole virtual concierge experience where we can build a profile of a member that goes beyond what their stay information is, how many nights they stayed, what hotels they chose, where we can actually take them through profiling in a very visual way. We can use AI to help build this 360-degree profile of one of their members, and then basically recommend curated experiences and places that they can stay at. So if you're looking at a hotel room, do you prefer a more classic kind of B&B type thing, or do you prefer a more modern environment? You know, what's your travel style? Are you an adventure traveler, or are you more of a, I like to go shopping in the city and I want to go do wine tasting? You know, what's your fashion style? Would you prefer to do things where you get dressed up and go to the opera, or do you want to put on hiking boots and go hike in the mountains? And this is one of the enablers of basic AI that is actually really accessible to an average organization. You really, you know, just need a place to deal with your data, and I think that's one of the key things that you're going to see with AI, is that whether you're doing hard AI, where you're looking to change the world, or you're just looking to improve operations, do something new for your business, your data becomes incredibly important. If we can go to the first slide with the rag pattern, or the... Yeah, so this is kind of the breakdown of the customers that I've been working with and the things that they're doing. You know, chat seems really simple. We have a lot of chat that's already out there. I think what the world is seeing is that with ChatGPT, we're getting a different level now. It's a different experience with chat. But if you tie it back to storage, the thing that's really important to remember is that if you're thinking about my hotel customer and you're looking up data that you have on file, that data needs to be really, really fast, because the user is expecting sub-millisecond response times to whatever question you ask. I think we've all seen, if you played with ChatGPT, where you've got in and asked a question, and it doesn't respond quite as quickly. You're like, oh, that kind of sucks. It's moving slowly today. That doesn't work in the real world when you're actually trying to create that connected experience. So the speed of your data becomes super, super important. We have a lot of customers that are looking to use their data and build better search. So I just spent a week last week on site with one of the largest retailers in the country. And they took 25 early in career employees. They were just out of college. The company is basically using them as the guinea pigs. Go out and learn AI, and then bring back your learning to those who are just trying to get to retirement. Tell us what you learned so we can figure out what we're going to do, and then we're going to have you build it. And what was funny is they submitted their scenarios, and most of the scenarios came back as search. They want to build a better search engine. Now, if you think about ChatGPT, what that does is it gives you a bunch of different ways you can do search now. So you can use verbal, you can type it in the way we're all used to, and you get back a very human-like experience. You can use images. Take this picture and go find me something in your inventory that looks like the picture I just uploaded. You can now use, John and I were talking about how ChatGPT now allows you to actually speak to it, and it will speak back to you in a human voice. So there's a bunch of ways you can do that, but again, where your data is stored, the way that you organize it, the way you maintain it, really will make or break this experience. And then finally, hyper-personalization. We talk about the RAG. So this is a short acronym for something called Retrieval Augmented Generation. Basically, it means bring your own data. So this is an important pattern that we are seeing almost universally across all of our customers. They want to take some data they have, they want to start using it, typically with large language models, to create new experiences. John has the really sexy demos. What I want to do is just leave you with a couple of thoughts around RAG if you're just a traditional enterprise, is that, yeah, the way your data is organized and the mechanism with which you serve it is super important if you want to do any kind of a human-connected AI. It can make a difference even if you're not connecting it to a human. Your data is valuable. I think this is another super key message. If you are sitting on a bunch of data that you have been backing up and storing and managing for years, the lack of data in the world to train the new AI models is making your data very valuable. Microsoft would love to talk to you. We have a set of solutions, they're called Azure Integration Services, where what we can do is help you put that data out, make it available, and you can monetize it, so you're creating a new profit stream while you're figuring out what your AI strategy is. This new profit stream could in fact fund some of your AI initiatives. Again, we can help you with that. We'd love to talk to you. And then I think when you start thinking about your first AI projects, it's great that we see, solving cancer. I worked with a customer trying to solve that cytology, those slices of imaging, back 6 or 7 years ago. That was super hard, it was super expensive to do. It's become a lot easier now because of the advancements we've made in AI. You don't have to start there. The one thing that I would recommend from the enterprise perspective, start with something small. Look for something that is a pain point or an opportunity in your organization, and do that. Now, bonus points if you can make it repeatable. So, one of the things that I like to think of is repeatability is the mother skill. So the first time you undertake something, there's usually a high cost associated with it. It'll take you some time to figure it out. But every time you do that same thing over and over again in your organization, it'll get faster and cheaper for you to do it. So if you're looking for your first AI project, think about something that can be abstracted. Like one of the examples that I use is when I was on the HPC beat. We helped NOAA, the weather people. We helped some of their scientists who wanted to run an HPC, it was a computational fluid dynamics simulation around how birds migrate. They were studying climate change. Then about 18 months later, we had a different group at NOAA step in and say, hey, we need some help, we're studying plankton migrations in the ocean. The two groups didn't know each other. They had no idea that they were basically trying to solve the same problem, just with different organisms through a different sort of wind speed versus ocean speed, ocean currents. But it was the same pattern. Because we had solved it for NOAA once, we were able to come in and literally in 1/10 the time recommend an architecture and tell them how to do it. So as you're reaching for AI, you're looking to get started with AI, find something small, don't boil the ocean. Look for something repeatable. Make sure your data is organized. Final tip I'll give you with data is spaces matter. So as you guys start organizing your data and you're sending it off to a large language model, an extra space can actually increase your cost significantly because of the way that the tokens are run. So what you want to do is make sure that you cleanse your data to remove, like if you're old school like me, double spaces after a colon, double spaces after a parentheses, or after a colon typically, or a semicolon. Do a data cleansing exercise and remove any extra spaces you don't need. It could make a huge difference in your large language model bill. And the last piece I forgot, John, and I'm going to hand it over to you in a second. The last piece is that your data is your data. And this is important. There's always that gray line. If I feed it to AI, will it be used to train someone else's model? With Azure OpenAI, basically all of your data is your own. It stays in your tenant. You keep control over it. It's not being used to train other AI models. You maintain complete control over it, which is a differentiator between OpenAI and Azure OpenAI. So if you are concerned about the privacy of your data not being used in other models, that's something to consider. And again, Microsoft would love to help you. Now, my counterpart, John and I, quick short story, we've worked together for 10, 12 years, a long time. This is the first time we've actually worked together on a presentation. We were joking because I have what I consider, what I call it the broccoli beat. They're not the sexy use case. We're not solving the world. We're not, creating Formula One cars or doing anything like that. We're helping customers. John, however, works the media and entertainment beat. And he's got kind of the dessert. He's got the sexy sizzle. He's got the cool use cases. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're working on that. You're working on that. So what I wanted to do is introduce my friend John Weisner and let him take you through some of the cool things that he's seeing with our Azure customers on the media and entertainment beat.
Thanks, Stephanie. Is this working?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. I learned today that spaces after a period equal cost of
Yes.
compute. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's a nice little tidbit. Hello everyone, John Weisner. I'm also on our global black belt team. In case you're not familiar with that team is a relatively small group of people, a few hundred globally. We get handed from our senior leadership team strategic market expansion and compete initiatives. So for me, it's high performance compute and AI in media and entertainment. So I know we only have a brief period here, about 15 minutes or so. So we thought we'd complement some of what you had already heard today, just with some examples of what's going on in media and entertainment. Of course, there are a couple of branches of conversations, mostly led by our customers and new businesses and partners coming to us, either saying, we have this great idea, can you help us understand how to enable it? But a majority of those initial conversations of, we don't know what we don't know. We don't even know what we want to do. And there's just this monolithic thing that's hanging out there called AI, and we know we need to get engaged. We don't know necessarily how to start. So what we typically end up doing is really just spending time doing a little bit of a walkabout, trying to present illustrations and examples of some AI services, perhaps a mix of ML, of where those things are starting to get played with, explored, integrated in the media and entertainment space. For us, the two branches in M&E are somewhat similar to what Stephanie had mentioned. There's a lot of back-end workflow processing, a lot of predictive analytics work that we've done in the past, perhaps now that can be driven by AI. But we also are spending a lot of time on the visualization side of the house. So we thought we'd give some fun examples. Great, to the right. So we've been working with broadcasters and content creators for a really long time and dealing with the problem of things like metadata. I don't know how many of you work with metadata, but for us, metadata has just been a pain over the years. The types of metadata that we've had on media assets typically have been limited to a very kind of brief synopsis of, perhaps title, content, participants, maybe some data information, and so on. But one of the things we've really been trying to get to is the programmatic generation of metadata, high fidelity data, a level of insight into a media asset that we typically don't have today without very heavy and manual intervention, right? Someone there to essentially add those details. I have a demo if you'd like to see it after. I think maybe just for time purposes, I'll skip over. But Vision Studio is a cognitive-based service. It uses computer vision and vector-based searching on the back end. And essentially what it does is it will look programmatically at media, and it will identify objects and people, scenes, and actions that are happening within the video itself. There's a URL here that you can go visit. This is a live site, aka.ms/Vision Studio. And it has a wonderful demonstration in there, a few different scenes. One scene is a convenience store. There are different people walking around, a transaction happening, someone spills a coffee on the floor, etc. Actually, let me see if I can, let's see if we just escape out of this real quick. Seeing is always very nice. Okay, so.
Nope. It's spinning circles.
Spinning circles.
You lost your HDMI.
Okay, lost my HDMI.
You didn't make the offering to the demo god.
Okay, let's. We'll try this, and if not, we'll go switch right back to the slides.
Yeah. The slides are good.
Okay, you see the video? Yeah. Okay, so this is aka.ms/Vision Studio. So this is an asset. You can upload individual assets. You can try this out on your own, but you can also think about this at scale. Perhaps you have a news station and you have a ton of media, and the only metadata that you have on historical assets is very slim. You can run this through and you can do a couple of core things. First thing you can do is you can summarize what's happening in the video. So we're using computer vision to contextualize what's happening in the video and create a textual summary of what's in here. Programmatic generation of metadata. Then we can come in, and based upon the summarization of the video, we actually have segments that we can jump to within the video. Woman falling, milk on the floor, coffee on the floor. Do a search. Now we're getting to a place within the video where that action happened. Again, this is not manual generation of metadata. We're not doing cataloging and indexing. So think of this running at scale. So we can come in here, we have time code association with some of these events. You can go in and you can refine any of those results. This is not intended to be a full fidelity solution without some training. It's also not intended to be a solution that's 100% all the time. However, if you have a large mass amount of mass amount of media, and you don't know what's in it anymore, and or you have net new media coming in, and Jonathan spoke about data pipeline. We often deal with media pipeline. You think about all the media that's being generated every single day. How do we start to generate that? And so some of the tools that we're using are things like computer vision and vector-based search on the back end as one component of the broader architecture.
So John, from an app's perspective, I think about this problem as something that you could use this type of solution in a custom application where maybe you provide a set of eyeballs in a corner of your business that maybe you don't have it. So again, if you're a grocery retailer, how do you get clean up on aisle 3? You could potentially build a solution that uses this to help you capture the words. You get an alert through an application pipeline that says, hey, there's a spill, let's go check out the video. And again, because you have the video and you're capturing it, you're indexing it, then you've got all of your risk processes around it, should there be a lawsuit or something later. So there's a practical application of something that is a media solution that could be used in ordinary business.
There is a lot of security applications, so perhaps you're running a theme park, someone falls. That context within a frame of video can then kick off a series of actions, notifications, alerts, and so on. There's a lot of different applications. Would love to have a conversation. I love this stuff. I'm going to switch over to something else here that we have out of our Microsoft research in China. Anyone heard of NUA? So NUA Infinity had started with the idea of creating net new frames and long-running video, right? So we've all, I think, talked about text to image, and I think we've heard about text to video. What Nuance is doing here is it's taking the last set of pixels on a frame that it knows and is using AI to generate the next set of pixels, and then using that to generate the next set and the next set. This is long-running video that's essentially continuously being generated by AI. You give it a single frame, and you give it context of what's in that frame. It's going to use that context, the color tones, everything, to continue to generate along the way. And then, over here, you'll see there are a few different elements within the scene that you can say, incorporate these things along the way. So this is interesting research that's being done because it can assist in the content creation process. It can assist in the advertising or the publishing process. It can support AR, VR, and MR-based experiences moving forward. So this is kind of interesting. We all know the Windows desktop, maybe? So if we were to click on here, this is taking the Windows desktop and inserting 5 keyframes. We're saying start here at the Windows desktop, but over here, I want this to be a lake. So as this scene is being generated, as it pans, you're going to slowly see elements within the environment here start to change towards a lake. And we'll just wait here for a moment, and you'll see it creep in. So it's using all this interpolation around the context of the image itself to start to assist with these tasks. And yeah, so you can go to this site, it's nua-infinity.microsoft.com, and play with it. These things are going to stay for you to play with and start to brainstorm how you can incorporate it. Let's see here. We're going to go back, and I'm just going to show a few other things here. Okay. There we go. So you may be familiar or not, we're working on with NVIDIA and other partners, things like audio to gesture and audio to face. Audio to gesture, I don't know about you, but I use my hands a lot when I talk. It's a problem. But there's a lot of science and research around what are the types of hand movements that people use when they talk about certain things, when they're feeling certain things. And so audio to gesture is taking speech, the tone in the speech, the context of the speech, and it's then mapping it to hand gestures. So if you create a character, an animated character perhaps, those animated characters have rigging on them. The rigging, think of a puppet, right? The rigging of the hands, of the legs, of the face, etc. So artists, it takes a really long time to do some of this. And so using speech, you can now drive the rigging of nonverbals, right? Of the skeletons of those characters. Also drive some of the speech and facial patterns. Real-time ML clothing, I think you saw there. Digital Domain and many other studios have been working on being able to apply a variety of different digital assets, digital clothes, to a character. How can you help support and accelerate that process and provide these as additional tools to the artist for them to continue to work on their craft and accelerate some of the content creation along the way. Omniverse, you guys may have heard of from NVIDIA as a platform. We're doing a lot of work with Omniverse in terms of scene creation. Anyone here working with Omniverse as a platform? or no? I'll show just a couple other things here. There's a lot of work being done on the digital human side of the house. Real photorealistic versions of ourselves. This isn't just in the content creation process and entertainment. I had a conversation with a retail customer, a global makeup company, and I looked across the screen and I said, "You look familiar." They said, "You look familiar." And they had just come from a very large animation company here in Burbank. They were working at a global cosmetics company creating digital humans to allow customers to create a digital human version of themselves so that they can try makeup on in the virtual world. On the back end of all the visual effects and rendering that we do is a process of denoising frames. It takes a long time for artists to review these frames and to denoise them. I have friends who are artists. They do not like the process, and it takes a long time. Last week I was in Italy at the View conference and was on a panel session with Pixar and AMD. Pixar had just released a new version of RenderMan, and in it is an AI-based component. It's a denoising engine, right? That denoising engine now is part of the pipeline and in line, so to speak, so that it can use AI to determine probability of noisy frames and begin to denoise those on the fly, saving a lot of time for the artists and freeing them up to go do a lot more of the work that they want to do. They also happen to be a pretty expensive resource. These two at the bottom, the same thing, just an example. These are more related to speech. Anyone see Top Gun Maverick? Yeah, I just watched it on the plane home. I don't know why I keep watching it over and over again. So Val Kilmer, you guys may know, has been ill, lost his voice. And as part of being in Top Gun Maverick, his character, they actually infused as part of his character him being ill and not being able to speak. So Semantic had gone back and used Val's previous performances to process his speech pattern. What you hear in Top Gun Maverick, when Val Kilmer speaks, is actually AI that had been driven by the analysis of his own voice in previous things. Do we have audio through here? We do? Let me see if I can play it.
Feeling very daring today, aren't you?
I'm feeling very daring.
This is daring for a Microsoft employee. It's like, ooh, I'm going to do a demo and I'm not sure my sound's going to work.
Yeah.
And while he's setting that up, I think the other key message is really, as we think about the ethics of AI, what are we looking to do here as a world? We're not looking to replace humans. We're looking to remove some of the busy work off of their plates that get back to focusing on the things that get them excited, that they're passionate about. So you should never think about AI as removing humans, just improving what humans can do. And I swear we didn't set up that sappy music to go with that message.
That was pretty good, wasn't it?
That was pretty good, John. You could be a commercial producer.
Okay. Well, you don't have to see it, you just have to hear it.